Hey, what's going on, guys? John Shea here from the No Shame Income vlog, and I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different today from my typical kind of internet marketing video. I wanted to review a exercise bike that I've actually been using, and this is something that I've been pretty much incorporating as much as I can into my month-to-month daily lifestyle, and just using this as something to try to get in better shape, try to be more energetic. And I guess you could say, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think one of the most important things is to try to stay active. It's ultimately going to help you feel a lot better about going into your day. You're going to, have all that energy, and it's just going to give you that confidence to really conquer your day, right? So without further ado, what I want to talk about today is something called the Peloton. This is a bike that is basically a home exercise bike that's very, very high end. It has a built-in monitor and all kinds of other features. So what I'm going to do in this video is actually do something that I couldn't find in any of the other videos that I looked up when I was first about to purchase this bike. I was trying to do all this research and all these different things. I was watching videos, I went down to the studio that they had, and there was just a lot of things that I felt like until I went and actually rode the bike, I felt were missing from some of the interviews and reviews that I was watching about this bike, all the different things. So what I wanted to do is put together a video and kind of show you guys everything that I could think of that I would have wanted to know when I was actually going and making the decision whether or not I should purchase this extremely expensive bike. So let's dive over to my living room. We're actually going to jump into my living room as opposed to normally a screen share, and I'm going to show you guys pretty much the ins and the outs of the bike. Alright, so what I want to do is give you guys more or less as thorough of a review as I can of the Peloton bike. Now, if you're not familiar with this bike, basically what this is more or less what most people would be to consider an exercise bike, right? But the main difference is that this actually has a screen attached to it, and you can watch live classes that are basically interactive with this bike. And you're more or less able to ride along with an entire group of people, literally hundreds of people, all at one time with the guidance of an instructor. So what I'm going to do in this review is kind of walk you guys through this in a couple phases. So the first part of this, I want to cover the bike itself, the quality of the bike, kind of using the bike. Then I'm going to talk about the actual shoes. There's one of my cats, by the way. Got a few of them here. Here's another one. And then we're going to talk about the shoes, and third, I'm going to talk about the actual software and using the bike with the membership. So let's talk about the bike first. You basically have a few things here. More or less, the bike actually comes with weights, and you can choose between different sizes of weights when you get the bike. I believe the lowest was 1 pound, and you could get up to 3 pounds. So I decided to go with the 3 pound weights. I thought at first, well, that's not really a lot of weight, but the types of exercises that they have you doing during the classes will actually wear you down because it's just a ton of repetitions. So you have this nice little kind of holder back here for the weights. You can easily grab them while you're doing your bike ride. In addition to that, you have a lot of functionality with this bike in terms of being able to make adjustments. So one of the things I first did when I was using it was I had the seat kind of lower than I probably should have been. Normally you probably want this to be about the same height as your waist, and that way when you're bringing up your knees, you're not putting up too much effort into actually trying to bike, and you're using the correct form. So with this particular bike, this has a fairly comfortable seat. I would say, I've replaced a seat on an outdoor bike that I have. And this one, I'd say, is probably like medium comfort. It's not like really terrible, but it's not like super amazing either. I didn't find that I needed to replace it. It was something that I just found if I was a little bit uncomfortable, I knew I would get used to it, and that's exactly what happened. You have a lot of adjustments here that you can make in terms of the seat height. You can move this and then adjust this up and down. And the construction of it is very, very good. You can see like this is all literally metal all in through here. You've got all of the pedal system is all shielded here. This is all plastic. And then the frame comes up here. You have an adjustment knob, which I'll talk about a little bit more here coming up. But this is actually where you adjust your resistance. So as you're biking, you can easily just move the knob to the left or the right, and that's how you adjust the resistance and how difficult the bike ride is going to be. You also additionally have 2 cup holders here. So I usually, I've got a couple, I've got some biking gloves just being held in the other one, and this is where I'll keep my water bottles that I fill in the morning before my ride. You can raise the entire structure here of where you're basically holding the front part. You can move this up or down depending on your height, and the monitor basically connects to this all through the back, and this is fairly straightforward. this just connects through a cable here, and then you have a power cable that comes out the back of the bike, and that just plugs into an outlet that I have down here. Now, in terms of space, that was also something I was very concerned about, and what you can see here is this is my living room. This is the TV where I've got everything, and literally the bike's right here. I can actually still sit down on the couch, and this is slightly blocking it, but I just so happen to not have a large space here. And yes, I could have put this in the basement, but I knew if I did that, I wasn't going to be as motivated. And the other advantage to this is I have, believe it or not, this is an AC unit. This thing absolutely cranks. So in the morning, I can, flip this thing up, hot summer days, turn this on, and if I want, I could maybe even adjust this a little bit so it's blowing at me, and that way I'm not like, just absolutely dying from the heat, and can kind of take advantage of this. So it kind of depends on your area, but I figured this was a good spot. Believe it or not, we used to have a big cat tree that was here, but I said, you know what, we can move the cat tree, put this somewhere that I know I'm going to use it, I'm going to see it every single day. I'm not going to get in my head where I'm basically at a point where, I'm just not going to be using it. So anyway, in terms of the quality of the bike, it's a really, really nice bike. You do also have, one last thing I want to mention before we get on to the shoes, is you have the pedals here where you have an option. So one of the big questions I had was, can I use this bike with just like normal running shoes, right? The answer is yes, but I don't really recommend it. And I'll give you some reasons why coming up. But basically, you have the ability here where this is a flat surface that you could just ride and pedal. But on the other side, this uses a special extension that you're able to use special shoes that Peloton provides. You do have to buy them as a separate purchase. And these actually clip in and very easily have the shoes clip out. So more or less, when I first ordered this bike, they actually delivered it to my house. They set everything up, which was a great service, by the way. I had no issues there. I told them exactly where I wanted it. They set up the mat. And then basically I was off to the races. And the problem was that I didn't have the shoes. And they were like, oh, well, your shoe size is actually not available. So I said, you know what, that's fine. I'll just bike without it for a week. And I waited about a week, and they actually still didn't show up. And I had to call the company, and they ended up finally delivering them. So that was like one of my only quirks with the initial delivery process. But ultimately, once I got those shoes, man, it made a huge difference in how much like energy and how much power I was really able to put into the bike. So if you're looking for, hey, can I use this bike without, the special shoes? The answer is yes, but I really don't recommend it. So let's actually talk a little bit about the shoes themselves. And I'm actually just gonna sit up here. So fairly straightforward. These, they don't tie like traditional shoes. You basically have this loop piece that you just stick through here, and this actually clips in, and you can hear it just tightening. So if this is on your foot, you can just tighten this pretty much as tight as you want, and I usually just do them both obviously equal. And when you're done, you can hit this strap piece here, and this will actually release the strap. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but that's pretty much it with the shoes. You can also adjust these straps, so they're pretty nice quality shoes. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't looked at the pricing since I bought it, but I want to say they were about $80. Now, I have read that the type of shoe that this is, in terms of being compatible, I don't know exactly what it was called. I'm forgetting it off the top of my head, but basically the style of shoe uses a specific type of like latching mechanism that's used to actually hook into the pedal, and you can buy aftermarket shoes on, say, like Amazon.com. So if you don't want to buy the Peloton shoes, you do have the option of maybe getting cheaper ones or something with like a different color. Obviously maybe some people don't want just like black and red shoes. So anyway, I guess you could say black, white, and red shoes. But yeah, in the back here, you have some adjustments. I haven't really fiddled with this too much, but you can see, depending on how you set this up, you can use a pretty generic little wrench that they provide to you, and you hook this into the back of the shoe. Once in a while, you may need to come in and actually tighten these, and that way this doesn't like wiggle around. Like, you don't want to be biking and have this kind of like, you're pedaling really hard and then all of a sudden you're kind of like off. That's going to be the biggest thing with this. So generally I just set these up, and you can see as well, I've had a little bit of damage just from like coming on and off the bike and like nicking this, but it's merely something no one's going to see, and I don't particularly really care. So that's more or less what's going on with the shoe. I'd say overall they're nice shoes. I haven't had any real problems. There is like, I think it's on this one, there's like a little bit of stitching here that was like coming up, but that's just normal wear and tear. You can't really walk around in these. I mean, you can, but it's going to be pretty difficult, I would say. So wherever you decide to place your bike and your shoes, you're probably going to want to find a place like this where I have a couch, I can just put them on, and then I'm literally just walking right there. So not too too difficult, but those are some things that you should probably be aware of. So that's pretty much it for the shoes and the bike itself. I did want to mention, since we're still kind of covering this, when it comes to actually latching in here, this was a challenge and something that I actually had to go to the, I went to one of the Peloton studios and I was like, how do I figure out, you know, how do you get in this thing? And it was a little bit of a challenge, but basically once you figure out the mechanism, you easily can just put your foot right into these, and if you have it dialed in just right, it'll clip right in. And the way that you get out of this is more or less what happens. Some people might be wondering this, because I didn't know any of this and none of the videos talked about it, is once you're clipped in, you basically would take this foot, and this is the easiest way in my opinion, is you basically turn your foot to the left, you twist this side off, and then you bring this left leg back over the bike, and now it's giving you an easy option where, and normally I'd have this clipped in, this would be down, and now I can easily unclip from this side and bring the other right foot off. So that's pretty much it for the bike itself and everything in terms of the bike. I'd say the quality is great, everything is awesome about it, but let's talk about the software and the actual you know, experience of using the bike. You know, what makes this different from just a regular exercise bike, right? So first things first is you can make multiple profiles. That was another big question, is, you know, if you're paying for one membership, can my wife or my child or my brother or whoever go and create a profile? The answer is yes. So this is actually my wife's profile, and this one's mine. She, to be honest, actually doesn't really use the bike, but the option is there for her to do it if she chooses to. So here I can go into my profile, and you have some really cool things going on here. So right now, there's actually a live ride literally going on as we speak with Robin, and you can see the time that's actually elapsed. So this started about 21 minutes ago, and I can see all of the upcoming rides. So here's like another one starting at 7 o'clock, and it's gonna be a 45-minute ride with Dennis, and it's gonna be a power zone ride. So that's like the style of ride. Usually they report the rides based on the type of ride and maybe the genre. So like here you've got 45-minute 90s ride, for example, or an intervals and arms. So we don't really know, like we could click into this. We can learn a little bit more about what's gonna happen in this. This one was actually an encore, so that means it's just a replay that they're gonna kind of play live. And basically I could say, hey, count me in, it's gonna start in 3 hours, join up a few minutes before it starts, and they're essentially gonna have a replay of that session. I can also see how many people are actually going to be attending. So there's 26 people that'll show up live. So that's kind of cool. Beyond that, if I want to view our live schedule, I can come up here and I can see all the upcoming days. So today is Friday, so I can see tomorrow there'll be some encores. Usually they do encores like really early in the morning. And then once you get to about 8 a.m., like for a Saturday, we have a live workout with Ali Love doing an 80s pop ride. So that's going to be 80s pop music for about 45 minutes. And I could choose to say count me in, and then I'll be included with the 304 other people that would be doing that ride. The other cool thing you can do with this is you can filter. So if you start to, you know, enjoy some specific instructors, I could say, well, I only want to find classes that are coming up by Ali. So I could do that if I chose to, or I could do Cody, you know, it doesn't matter, but you can see all the upcoming and even the past classes from these instructors. I can also filter by length. So maybe you only have time for like a 10-minute ride. I could come in here and say, you know, 10 minutes, and obviously I could choose to do show all classes, which will give me the option to see stuff that's, you know, previous. But this is normally, I'm in the scheduling section, so I'm not going to see all the past stuff and like old replays unless they're considered encores. But you also have class type here, so you can come in and they have different ones: pro cyclist, low impact, power zones, intervals, heart rate zone, beginner, live DJ, and then they have a climb as well as like a theme-based ride. So a lot of these are doing different things. Low impact is obviously like more recovery. Power zone is they're basically putting you into specific zones like of how much you're exerting during a specific amount of time. Intervals, self-explanatory. It's mostly like probably on and off types of stuff where you have recovery, go fast, recovery. Heart rate stuff, I haven't done a lot of that. The beginner, self-explanatory. Live DJ, obviously that's just, you know, probably more music based. And yeah, more or less that's what you got with some of this. You also have an option up here at the top. You can click on the floor exercises, and they additionally have some options here where you can actually go in and do like just strength workouts. So like here's like an arms toning, here's a yoga. Let's see, what else do we have here? Here's like a meditation one. So these are things that are going to be done on the floor. Now you might be asking, well, how are you going to do this on the floor? Like, here's my floor, right? Am I going to be like sitting over here on this floor trying to look up at this screen, right? That's not really going to work. What's really cool about this is if you have a Google Chromecast, you can actually boot up your phone And if you have Chromecast like I do on my TV, which is just in the USB and the HDMI in the back of the TV, I can actually Chromecast from my phone. You know, you have your membership linked into your phone just like you do on the monitor here. And you can go and do the floor exercises on your yoga mat wherever you want, wherever you have a TV, and just cast them from your phone to the TV. So pretty straightforward. That would be the way that you're going to be able to utilize some of the floor stuff if this isn't something you could just like plug into your TV. You do also have a few other options here, like for, if you look at the top, they've got strength, stretching, yoga, meditation, and cardio. So those are like the main things that they have as floor exercises. Now let's actually go back to the main profile. I want to just kind of cover some other things that we can find here. That way you guys get a full glimpse of this. I can see the total number of workouts I've done. So in my case, I've done 63. My activity, I've done like 10 workouts in the last 30 days. I can see how many workouts I did, the time total, the distance I traveled, how many calories I burned, and my average output based on my pedaling. I can see a calendar of all the days that I did, so I was kind of slacking here like late last month, and then this month I've been doing a lot better. I missed kind of a week, and then now I'm kind of getting back on track. If I consistently do at least one workout a week, they'll give me a streak. So right now I do have a 5-week streak. And then down at the bottom, you actually have these achievements. So this is something I'm really excited about. If we hit view, you can actually come in here and they have all these different achievements you can earn. So like I got an achievement for doing 50 rides. Here's different ones for like some of the floor stuff, which I really haven't done much of the floor exercises. You also have daily streaks, like I did 5 days in a row or 5 weeks in a row. Here was like a special one I got for winter. And then they do these regular challenges throughout the month. So I actually got gold in December because I was able to meet certain milestones. So some examples of that might have been like if we do the December one, I was basically, I don't think it's going to tell me, but basically I did like, it was like 150 miles ridden, or this one was like worked out a certain number of days. They do different things as the months go on, and they're always coming up with new challenges. So you can come into challenges here at the bottom and they'll tell you all the upcoming ones. So I've got like some going on now for June, and then there's upcoming ones for July that I can join into. And I can also see all my completed challenges. So these are all the ones that I did in the past. And of course they break this down from bronze, silver, and gold. So depending on what you do, you'll get those different rewards. So the other thing is, if we go back to our main menu, you have obviously the option here, we can go into a calendar from the left. I can see all the different things that I've done, like my past activity for like this month. I can go into my workout history and I actually have a log of all the past workouts that I've done, and I can easily see where I showed up in the leaderboard, which is really awesome, by the way. You get a ton of metrics here. So for my workout that I did this morning, I ranked 2016 out of 7,995 people, which is really awesome. So you can see I earned an achievement. And then I also have my total output, the distance that I traveled, how many calories I burned, my average output, my average cadence, and my average resistance, as well as my average speed. So these are some things I'll talk about in a bit. I'll join like a live class and just kind of show you how it works, because I do want to give you guys some example of that for those maybe considering the Peloton bike. But you've also got an output chart here, so I can see like, you know, these parts, they actually had arm workouts this morning. So like I stopped pedaling and I just focus on the arm stuff. And if I actually come in a little closer, you can see those icons kind of represent, like the beginning is the warm up, then it's cycling, then it's arms, and then it was another cycling again, then more arms. So that's where the dips were when I was just focusing on the arm workouts. So this was like an interval in arms ride, as they called it. Whereas normally with like something like this rock ride, you'll see a little bit more consistency, and they did do like one arm section towards the end. So fairly straightforward, but I can see my results. I can see where I lie on the leaderboard. You can also get like best of achievements. So for example, if you do really, really well, and you beat one of your past times for, let's say, a 20-minute workout, you'll actually end up getting a special reward for that, and it'll be like, this is your best workout. So that's some really cool stuff. You can constantly be trying to show up higher on the leaderboard. You can also be trying to focus more of your energy on beating your own best scores and just doing better and better as the months and days go by. Again, from the left here, we already looked at achievements, so you guys saw that. This is an activity log. So this is really cool. I can see how much output I did each day. So like these would be my total output in terms of that workout, the distance that I traveled, the calories that I burned, the average output that I had, and your heart rate, which you do have a heart rate monitor that comes with this. And I normally just don't wear it. So I'm not, obviously that's not being tracked. You can also, this is something they additionally had added, and I haven't really done much with it, is you have this music tab. And in the music tab, you have the ability is while you're listening to songs during the Peloton ride, you can hit a little heart button and favorite that song. Maybe you hear something that you've never heard before and you really like it, or you want to turn that into a playlist. You can save that and then connect it to Apple Music or your Spotify account, and you could sync that up as a playlist. So that's kind of a cool little new feature that they added. You also have, if we go to featured, this will kind of show like some of the current stuff that's going on. So these are more like programs and collections of workouts. So like if you wanted to get started with the bike, they have a mastering the basics. You've also got like what's popular now. I can see anything with like a checkbox. So this is one that I already did. And these are all basically replays. So this was done 5 hours ago with Cody, and there's actually 185 people here right now basically doing this same ride. And it's just going to accumulate with all the other people. So what's cool is, let's say 6,000 people already did this ride like between now and 5 hours ago. It's going to join in the leaderboard. I have the option of switching between basically doing that leaderboard based on everyone that's attended the class or only the people that are watching the class right now. So these are some things that I didn't know, you know, when I of course was going to buy this bike for the first time. So I'm trying to spill a lot of information for you guys. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but let's see. So some other things you can also see here, this little icon means that a friend of mine actually took this ride. So if you friend someone on the site, if you make friends with other Peloton riders, you can see the rides that they're doing. You have a few other options here. If we go down to programs, they have some different training programs that are built out. So there's one for like yoga, this is a strength training one. And if we go into this, it's gonna give you a whole week by week basically program that you could follow. So here's a 5-day strength training program that I could follow for helping me, you know, crush my core, I guess you could say. And, you know, they have different programs for different things. So this was something I thought was really cool. They do have a beginner one. So when you very first get started, here's like this welcome to Peloton one that I believe, this one's not too long, it's just 2 weeks worth. So when you're very first getting started, they have some workouts here that you could join that they know are not gonna like, you know, just get you right in where you're doing 45 minutes of super hard, you know, effort and you just don't know, you know, you're not used to it, right? So that's pretty much it for the programs. I believe we already covered classes. We talked about the schedule, and we already talked about challenges. In addition to this, they have a couple other options. So if you don't have a membership with Peloton, you have a couple options here where you can do a Just Ride, and you also have a Scenic Ride option. So Just Ride is literally going to be a black screen and you're just riding the bike, just like you would a normal exercise bike. The Scenic Ride will actually take you to a specific location that they have pre-recorded where someone basically went and rode a bike. So as you're biking, it's almost like you're literally moving at these locations. I've only done this a couple times, but it's a kind of cool little addition. They have tons and tons of these like additional locations that you can go through. And both of these options, I believe, do not require the Peloton membership. Now, to give you a little bit more information on that while it's on topic, it costs, to get this bike financed, you're going to pay about, I believe it's about $2,000, somewhere in that range, depending on when you decide to watch this video. The price could change. And right now I pay about $60 a month through Affirm, and that's with 0% interest. So I kind of treat that as like a gym membership, right? Or a high-end membership. But then in addition to that, I'm paying $40 a month to get the membership access to the application, which I could use through the Peloton itself or through the phone application. And that's giving me access to all the classes. Now you might be wondering, well, how could I go make one of these cheap Peloton like alternatives, or how could I use the membership with the bike? Now I read a lot of reviews about how people were doing this. They'd go out and they buy the $300 bike and they're basically trying to come up with like, you know, figuring out the resistance and all this stuff. And I can tell you that when you jump into one of these programs, the biggest disadvantage of that is that, you know, just not knowing where this is at, where it's adjusted and how this is being positioned in relation to the actual ride that you're taking. I read a guide where, you know, it was like a review where the guy was talking about how he built his own bike and had the resistance and he was like following the classes. He just did the $40 a month membership and he was basically going through it, and he come to find out he'd been like working at a way higher resistance than what the Peloton was actually doing. Now in his case, I guess it's kind of bad and good because he's working harder than he was supposed to be. But the fact that that was like even happening, right? He just had no idea like how he was doing in terms of performance. And of course, I think there's a lot of motivation by looking at the leaderboard while you're actually in the bike and just kind of knowing what's going on, right? So I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to join a live class because I want you guys to kind of see how that works. So we're going to do this 30-minute pop ride with Cody. And again, this was something that was played earlier. I can see here a little description. featured playlists. So these are like 4 of the artists that will get played, and I can actually view the entire playlist, and I could favorite these if I want. So I have that option of seeing all the artists. And then the class plan, it's going to be a 4-minute warm-up, 25 minutes of cycling, and 1-minute cool down. And you can see down here that 2,745 people took that ride, and there's probably like 100 people there now. So I'm going to start this. I'm not going to actually do the ride because it'd be hard to do that while filming. But if we go ahead and hit start, it's going to give me the option to connect Bluetooth if I want to wear a headset, or I can connect my heart rate monitor, but I'm not doing either of those. Typically I don't. If you need the privacy in your home, obviously you can do the Bluetooth, but you do have an option on the back here, I'll just show, is you have a little volume. You can adjust the volume up or down, and while I'm here, there's also the power button there for the monitor. This thing does go to sleep on its own though, so I never power it off. But anyway, we're gonna hit start, and we'll kind of let Cody do its thing. I might turn it down a little.
What's up, Peloton? My name is Cody Rigsby. Thank you for joining me for this 30-minute.
So they have something new. You can choose, like, you know, I want different music, or, you know, the original mix of music, or you could do your own playlist, I believe. So you get a few options there. And ultimately what this comes down to is you're watching an instructor in a live class. So this was when it was recorded live, you know, 5 hours ago or whenever it was. And these are people in their New York studio that are actually biking in the background. They kind of dim the lights so the focus is on the instructor. Now what we have here is our leaderboard. So this is the all-time leaderboard. So this is the 1,850 people that they have tracked. And as soon as this starts, which is going to be in about 20 seconds, we're going to start seeing the activity on the leaderboard of all the people and what they're doing, and, you know, kind of where they're at in terms of the output they're putting into the ride. And we can also click on this here now, and I can see all the people that are biking right now. So they're kind of at different levels. You'll basically see a circle go around. So this person's like 25% through the ride, this person just started, and then there's me who hasn't started yet. And now my ride is going. It's going to show me the music that's playing, the artist. I could choose to favorite that if I wanted. And then now I can also see, hey, we're in the 4-minute warm-up phase. And if we go back to all time, see I'm at 0 because obviously I'm not doing anything, but my position in the leaderboard is 2,295. So if I scroll way up, clearly there's a lot of people not doing like anything. But basically what's going to happen is you have a few different metrics, and I thought I'd explain these. So the first is your cadence. So it's going to show you an average, your best, and ultimately this is kind of like the RPM. This is how fast that you're actually pedaling. Now the output is going to be kind of the total of what you're doing in terms of the resistance and that cadence, and that's kind of a cumulative number. Usually that's a number I don't focus too heavily on because a lot of the instructors are going to base their instruction on a specific cadence level. This is like how hard you're working, right? So if you're at a 90 cadence, that means you're going to be pedaling pretty fast. And if you're at a really low resistance, you're going to be able to pedal faster and faster. So you're going to be able to go a higher cadence with a lower resistance. But if they say, hey, we're going to go up to like 45 resistance, you're going to have a really hard time pedaling, and that cadence is going to end up dropping because you're not going to be able to pedal as fast with the higher resistance. So what ultimately happens with this is you have the option to do a few different things, and the instructors are going to guide you, and they're going to do something where they like to call it out of the saddle. So out of the saddle means that you're actually not resting your butt on the actual bike. You're getting up out of the bike and you're going to be pedaling basically freely with, like, in the air. You're more or less just like up, almost like you're standing and pedaling. So what's going to end up happening is you can do much higher resistances because you're going to be able to put a lot more force. So like if I'm at probably about a 50, this is where it's going to be really, really hard to just pedal while seated. If I'm down around like a 45 or a 40 or lower, I can still pedal and I can get a really high cadence and just crank out my actual workout. So as this is all going on, obviously the leaderboard is going to constantly be changing. I like to look at the here now and just kind of compete with some of the people because there's a smaller number. You can see there's only 200 people, and generally I like to see like, hey, I'm like beating out, you know, I'm like in spot 100, like I know that I'm beating over 100 people. You can also filter this, by the way. You could say, you know, I only want to see myself. I only want to like see specific age groups. So like maybe you just want to be competing with people that are like around your same age. So that's pretty much it for a lot of this. I think my cat's deciding that he wants my attention. And I would say overall it's pretty motivating. It's easy enough to follow the instructors, and hopefully I've covered as much as I possibly can. I know this video is long. I don't normally do these super long videos, but I do kind of want to leave this, you guys. If you guys decide that you're interested in this, I'm going to turn Cody off if I can figure out how to exit. I don't know how to exit the bike. Here we go. I figured out how to exit, so sorry for the camera there. Basically, what I was gonna say, you guys, is, you know, I've been having a lot of, you know, time. It was like a hard decision for me to buy this, right? But one of the things that I've been able to do over the past couple of years is I started going out and actually working with digital marketing clients. So you might have found my channel because you were looking for a review on Peloton or this exercise bike, but you know nothing about entrepreneurship, right? This was an expensive purchase, right? To a lot of people to go and spend $2,000, commit to a $2,000 bike. I've actually been going out and working with local business owners and helping them with their marketing efforts. And that's how I've been able to afford things like this bike, or even this really expensive AC unit that costs like $500. You know, things that people normally just can't go out and like spend a lot of money on because it's expensive, right? Like, not a lot of people can go out and spend $2,000 on an exercise bike. So I want to get that light out of the camera here. But pretty much what it comes down to is I wanted to invite you guys, if you're looking for some ways to make some extra money online, kind of get out of your regular 9-to-5 grind, you're looking for ways that you can afford things like this Peloton bike, then I invite you to check out a free class that I actually put together. If you click the link below in the description, be sure to check that out. And again, any questions that you have, leave me a comment and I'll try to help out. I absolutely love this bike. My recommendation would be, you know, even if you're worried about it, like hey, I don't know if I'm gonna use it. Biggest thing I would say is go into it with the mindset that put this in a place where you know you're gonna use it all the time. And that's exactly what you can see I did here. The second thing would be go into it knowing that you may have lulls. Like, I had a whole month where I just like really didn't use it and I was still paying for the membership, and I just finally said, you know what, I need to get back on it. And the biggest thing that I do is I make it the very first thing that I do in the day. I don't eat breakfast. I literally just fill up my water bottle, I put on my workout shorts, I put on my socks and put on my shoes, and I just come down here and I'll ride the bike. And I make that the very first thing that I do in the day. So anyway, if you guys are looking for some ways to figure out how can I afford this thing, be sure to check out my class, and I hope you enjoyed this review. I tried to do cover as much as I possibly could. I know there's a lot of information, but there's a lot to learn about the bike, so hopefully I covered everything, and thanks for watching.